This is the big one from last week. It's still a big issue even this week. Facebook. So they had their earnings report and
Nelly, down,
big,
down, baby.
big issue. So this was the biggest one day drop in stock market history as far as how much money was taken off the books. I think over $200 billion.
$230 billion
was erased in one day. Facebook stock went down like 25%. It's down again today. So, okay, it's a couple different factors for this. They didn't hit their earnings, projected earnings, but also for the first time in 18 years, they had a negative growth rate on Facebook. Now, Instagram and WhatsApp still had positive growth rates, but modest.
Supposedly on Instagram.
Well, yeah, reported. But Facebook had a negative growth for the first. Like I said, I think they had it one other time, the first quarter ever. But for the most part, in 18 years, they've never had. They've always had
first time in history.
And then, of course, they have issues with Apple.
Big issue.
The privacy situation. Today, it came out that they've threatened Europe to not let Europeans use Facebook or TikTok or Instagram because the European government is trying to, restrict, policies as far as for monitoring things of that nature. And then, of course, Meta, Web 3.0. Yeah. They lost, I forgot how much billion, a couple of $billion.
10 billion projected. The real number is like 11.3, but they're swooping under the rug. Yeah, but Meta was going to be the game. I keep telling you.
I remember we said what's going to be the most important. Well, we said Facebook for this number one reason. Are people going to buy in it? Are they going to believe in it?
Well, I'm gonna let
first quarter.
Let's talk about the situation. But before, I just want to add my 2 cents into this because I feel like makes a lot of sense why he would rebrand the company's name into Meta. Right. If you're looking at the situation, it's like, okay, a mountain can only, there's only two sides to a mountain, going up and going down. Now, if you climb Mount Everest and you're 500 feet down from the top, you're still higher than anybody else in the world, but you're on the downward side. So I say that to say everything has a peak. So he might have been looking at the situation like, okay, we wasn't able to purchase TikTok. We might be at a peak in our social media influence. What's the next direction? The next direction is metaverse, Web 3.0, all of this stuff. One smart thing that he did do is to actually name it Meta, because that, in my brain, this is all my opinion, that's an attempt to coin the phrase like Band-Aid and like become synonymous with the whole metaverse. Yeah. So that's kind of forward way of thinking. But it's a legacy brand. It's crazy to call Facebook a legacy brand, but they really are at this point, like almost 20 years. And at this point, 20 years, like 100 years in this society. Do people trust Facebook? Are they going to have as easy of a road into just dominating metaverse? Will metaverse even be a thing that will even be that relevant in the next 5 years? A lot of question marks. So we'll have a conversation. But Ian, what are 10 reasons why you think this is the end of Facebook?
And I know everyone went crazy on Instagram when I posted this, right? So for context, I want to tell everyone, I've been a user of Facebook since 2005. Shout out to CVG who put me on the platform. I tried to convince some of my family to angel invest in it. I think 100 grand would have turned into 33.5 million. It didn't happen, but I'm not a hater of Facebook, but for where they are in the landscape, this is the start of their decline. So I think Facebook has like 6 more years before they go the route of, well, I mean, we talked about it when it was in before Chains came in, like they're going to go the route of IBM. Like they are going to be still a great company. The stock won't be worth as much, however. And I'll list the reasons here. Number one, Meta, $10 billion in losses on Oculus AR and VR in 2021 alone. That will probably happen for the next 2 to 3 years. Everyone argues with me about Oculus. 1, 2. So for illustration, show and tell. For those of you who are arguing with me, Oculus is the wave. The average person that has an Oculus only uses it once a month. So what does that make your ad platform look like? And what commercial viability does it have if you're not using it more than once a month? If you have an Oculus, how often are you actually using it? Please put that in chat. Number two, government is going to block every large acquisition going forward. That deal that Microsoft pulled off with buying a gaming company a couple weeks ago, Activision, yeah, and talks of it, they will never let Facebook do that. I'll talk about it later, but the government hates Facebook. Most hedge fund managers, even the ones that took them public, hates Zuckerberg. So they're going to have some blockages there that most companies will not have. As Rashad talked about, negative net user growth. And if we're going to be honest, if they weren't creating profiles for people before they even signed up for an account on Facebook, so even if you're on Facebook or not, if you go look, they have your data in there already. And if they reported the real numbers on IG without the bots, negative growth would have been reported 3 years ago. Apple, of course, blocked them because, once again, Zuckerberg is not liked. So Tim Cook devised a very strategic way to take away all revenue on the ad side from them. So between the losses in AR and VR and Apple, that's a $24 billion hit to their business. For those of you who don't know, $24 billion is a hell of a lot of money to lose, and it's not easy to recover. And then if you look in terms of social and the tech climate, they have an inferior product. When's the last time anybody here has been like, man, I just love Facebook? Instagram isn't as amazing as it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Hence why they told you to go to TikTok for EYLU instead of IG, right? Partial. On the employee side, not many people are proud to even work at Facebook. Now, we know one, shout out Brian, love you dearly. But for most people only stay at Facebook 1.3 years. What does that do? Makes the cost of hiring a hell of a lot higher. And then when retention is low, you can't have stickiness in your products because you having teams constantly change. And that's not a good thing. They missed the opportunity on a phone in 2009 and between 2009 and 2011, what Chamath was working on, and they needed a hardware product. And now, because the trust is so low, no one will want a phone from them. There was a sweet spot, like a lane that they had, they could have put out a phone internationally and could have attracted more users or kept them in their ecosystem longer, and they never did it. And the biggest one that I'll go to outside of trust, Apple is now one of their main competitors. So everyone's talking about the metaverse, but what about the omniverse? If Apple and Google teams up, because Google pays Apple $15 billion a year to be the primary search feature on the iPhone and on the MacBook and on iOS. Google is going to relaunch their Glass product they were working on in 2010. Apple is now speeding up the rate in which they do AR and VR. And what if they team up to take out Facebook? You have to be very mindful. So when you guys are like, oh, this, I want to talk about this, Apple and Microsoft, they are the cartel. They are the cartel. You know who Facebook is? They're Wendy from Ozark. You can act tough. You can act tough all you want to, but when you gotta go fly to Mexico, it's over with.
Well,
you guys can argue with me. Listen,
at some point, you gotta see the Navarro family.
So let me
you have to go see them.
Yeah. Can I add to yours real quick?
Yeah.
I think those are all great points. But Facebook, I mean, it's interesting if we study the history of it. They've done this before, right? Speaking of the metaverse, when everybody was using browsers in 2008, they decided in 2011 to go to the app, right? Mm-hmm. And it became an app. The problem with having the app is that you don't control that space, right? You got to put it on a device. Your competitor owns that device, right? The Apple phone, the iPhone became that device. Obviously, Android was a device too, but you don't control that either. And so you have to stay within the guidelines of the policies that they put. And so when most people are looking at this, they're like, oh, I don't really understand. Why are they blaming Apple? So let me just peel back the layers so we understand this clearly. Apple put in the app tracking transparency policy, right? So what that does is it tells companies what you're interested in. They find out your information and they sell advertisers. And that's exactly how Facebook makes money. So if I have an option to choose whether you get to follow me or not, and I say no, I'm not a customer for you anymore. Right? The ramifications of that on a yearly basis, right? If people keep saying no, that means that the ad revenue goes down. They're projecting about 8.5 billion a year. So if your main source of income is advertising and they're telling you that we're squeezing the amount of people you can advertise, obviously you're going to make money, which is why when you don't control the space, like I said, if they went from browser to app and now metaverse, well, do they control that space? Well, not really, right? The metaverse in their mind, in a scheme of the whole space is like, if the metaverse is a tree, Meta, the company, is just a branch because there'll be plenty of other places that people can go to. So that's interesting too. So when we look at this like totality, and they're using a lot of language. And I just want to break down language, right? So when they say DAUs, like people see that in they're reading, right? Daily average users. Yeah, they went down by like, I think 1 million or 500,000 users on a daily rate, right? I think it was 1.9. I got the numbers here, 1.92 billion. They were expecting 1.93. So on a scale, it doesn't seem like that's a lot. But like you said, if you're not going up, that means you must be.
You're going, and now you're being attacked
down
by government, hedge funds, the top companies, and even in the ad model. Then Google has the best business model in the history of mankind. Their ad model is not better than Google. So now, also, when you lose trust and then you have an inferior product, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. It's current around in the 220 range. What do you have Facebook 2-year projection?
They'll be probably back around 302.56 easily. And some people were messaging me like, well, this is a good time to buy. Technically, it could be, but there are so many better companies that you can put money into. It's not worth it. Like even with the rebrand, even with the metaverse, like the thing that people forget from a business perspective, mergers and acquisitions are a terrible way to grow business. Because what happens when you can no longer acquire? No innovation. Even to take him, he got the metaverse name out of a book. and any top 50 brand in history, you can go through from 1800s to now, anytime you've had to change your name because of public perception issues, it was never a good sign.
You make a good point. If this was a court of law, you definitely made a good point. You stated your case very well. But let me be the defense attorney a little bit here for Meta. Because I've spent a tremendous amount.
Audio changed.
We good?
No, talk again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, you're good.
We good?
Yeah, we're good.
I've spent a tremendous amount of time on social media, specifically Instagram. Instagram changed our lives. Definitely changed my life for sure.
Yeah, Facebook changed mine. Instagram, yeah.
So I will say this. People in our age range, 30-year-olds, late 20s, 40-year-olds, I don't think they're going to leave Instagram. I don't think that Instagram is going to get erased by TikTok. I think TikTok is a very formidable opponent, especially for young people. But even in the car with my son this yesterday, him and his friends, there's 3 of his friends, and I'm like, what's better, Instagram or TikTok? And they were split. One person said TikTok, 2 people said Instagram. I still feel like Instagram is a better product than TikTok. I like Instagram better. I'm just saying from my appearance. I like Instagram better. They have a tremendous head start. They have tremendous cultural relevance. Tremendous. Never seen anything like their cultural relevance is unmarked. So I say that to say, I think Instagram is here for a while. And I don't think the decline of Instagram might not be right now. Facebook is a different story. WhatsApp is an interesting situation. We'll see what happens with Metaverse. They have a mixed bag of products.
And it should be more dominant as a result. If Apple had all those entities, that stock price would be 900 per. But Instagram is amazing, beautiful product, but they kept copying. So, and we see it with everybody who try and copy us, right? Yo, I'm gonna do the same thing as Ian do. It don't hit the same. You ain't been doing this since 08. You're not free. The people can tell. When the boy go crazy, they know I'm free, right? So when you copy stories, great, it worked. You copied out, then you did IGTV. Did not work. You try to copy reels.
That's their business.
But
That's their business model.
That's important to know.
Business model.
Here's the thing, right? When you take it from a smaller company, long term, people won't even remember the smaller company. Right? People don't talk about Vine anymore. Right?
Vine, Snapchat. They
still here. Snapchat still here.
They took the stories from Snapchat.
That's what I'm saying. So like that is their model, right? So like even with TikTok dominating at a certain demographic, now they come with reels. The thing is that with them is that they're gonna just keep trying to be creative enough to say, all right, well, they're doing that. Let's make our version. Let's make it better.
Yeah.
The thing that makes me optimistic long term is that their user base is so. They have over 3.2 billion.
How many of them are real?
Users. That part
now when people go look at the numbers are there.
The numbers are there.
So when I say do your research, they don't read.
Yeah, what the report says, what they report is 3.2 billion.
They definitely have a lot of real users, and I would almost put my life on it to say the majority of people that's watching this show right now use Instagram way more than they use TikTok.
For the current time. Yeah. And everybody said options last year was better than Apple. And where's that money at? I'm talking about the future. Mike, clip this up. I can't wait to be right about this one.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying I'm not saying
this is for entertainment. We ain't getting into
I'm not saying that TikTok's here to stay. That's why follow our TikTok. Follow our TikTok. TikTok's here
and
to
now
stay.
IG. Right.
Well, no, you got to follow IG.
There's a million people over there.
Follow the
Shout
IG.
Out to IG.
Oh no! I'm talking about the ULU. But I'm saying
we're gonna grow that to 10 million.
the average time that people are spending on TikTok is 45 minutes. It's not that on IG. And let's do this. Let's put up a post. Which one is more popular? And everybody wipe out all the bots and see what the ratio is of comments to follower count. And go do the same thing on TikTok.
You think the usage time is higher on TikTok?
Way higher. Higher.
I don't know, bro.
Instagram is a drug. Is a drug that nobody can get off of. You gotta remember, Instagram is a drug classified
per user.
Speaking.
Shout out to Brian. Shout out to Brian, and shout out to all the good people. Shout out to all the good people.
Everybody at Facebook, love y'all.
Let's get
shout
that.
Out to my guy Mikhail when you went there.
We got a meeting. Yo, B, it's all love, bro. Shout out to the team over there.
Clear right
now. But also when you have, I'll give the perfect analogy. I love 50 Cent. 50, one of my favorite artists of all time, and he always I tore down Murder Inc. because of their issues. The government tore down Murder Inc. And it's the same thing that's going to happen with Facebook. It won't just be TikTok. It's going to be the government on top of the hedge funds that don't like them, on top of the hedge funds that are shorting them right now. And damn near everybody in tech hates Facebook. I'm going to be real. B is damn near the only person I know that work at Facebook that claims it.
Here's the thing. Every time.
No, you don't.
Every time he's been in front of Congress, they've come out unscathed, right? Even before the Meta, if you think back, right, to November, right before they announced the Meta name change, they were on a hot seat, right? From employees.
Why? While all the servers shut down and all the records wiped off.
Right.
All right, we'll monitor this situation because we can go on. We can have a whole episode about this. Let's revisit this conversation in 6 months,
Mark,
and a year later. Ian saying that it's dead. What's your saying? What are you saying?
It's not dead.
Not dead. 6 years is dead. If I've made you money, please put yes in chat. And here's the thing: when you guys are doing audience, when you're analyzing the business, you can't go off what happened in the past. I was on Facebook in 2005. I built my entire track record, and all my memories come off Facebook from 2008 through now. Love the company. Everyone that was pivotal in Facebook, they lost at some point. You have to be mindful as you're scaling. At some point, you can't make so many enemies. Some things we talked about behind the scenes, right? You can't make so many enemies that when you are at a downslide, now everyone piles on top of you. Facebook, I mean, Apple made that ruling just for Facebook. It wasn't about consumer protection. It was about destroying Facebook. The same thing that we saw happen with Kathy, we're going to see the same thing happen with Facebook at scale. And everybody said I was a conspiracy theorist and said I was crazy. And here we are with Kathy.
Now, are we saying like Walking Dead dead or like Hurts dead? Like what's dead?
6 years is over with. I'm telling you, but we're seeing a decline now. Like
yeah.
if I go look at the stock right now, it gapped down from, let me pull up Thinkorswim. And then for those of you who may not know me, I actually invest and trade for a living. So I'm not just saying this. The stock went from 316 down to 243. Penny stocks gap like that. I made your top 20 tech. You guys put in chat, when's the last company that gapped down that much in one day? It does not fucking happen. Doesn't happen. All y'all talking on the internet, please show me any receipts of when you were investing prior to 2012. I know when True came out and True Religion shot up chains, I was investing then. Damn right, I'm about it. Come on, it's over with. It's entertainment, sponsored by Allah. Y'all see the comments.
I got you, Jackson.
Facebook.
Don't worry.
Dead. You saying not dead?
Not dead. I'm gonna say not dead.
All right, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll say not dead.
We'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.